Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. I cover true crime stories that you want to hear, so leave me a comment down below if there is one you'd like me to cover. And if you are into true crime, then I highly recommend that you subscribe to my channel and also turn on notifications, because I love telling the stories just as much as you love listening to them. The story I'll be telling today is actually very gruesome and sad, so bear with me. It was a lot of fun to research, but also very uncomfortable to research. The story begins in Ireland. Actually, it stays in Ireland for the most part. But I think there's a lot of media coverage surrounding this case in Ireland. I haven't seen anything in the US about it, so hopefully this is something you haven't heard before, so I don't bore you. I apologize, I don't have photos that I can use for any of the characters in this story, so you're gonna have to look at me the whole time. So, John and Kathleen Mulhall had 6 kids that they were raising in a neighbourhood known as Kilclare Gardens in South Dublin, Ireland. 2 of their 6 children were Linda, who was born in 1975, and Charlotte, who was born in 1983. Now, I thought this was interesting, but I don't know if it really relates to the story, but Kathleen, the mother, was originally a part of a group known as the Traveling Community, or Irish Travelers, which basically is a traditionally nomadic group in Ireland, sometimes casually referred to as gypsies. Now, it was said that John was abusive toward Kathleen. I wasn't able to find out how he was abusive or even if it's true, but in the end, their marriage ended and they separated. Kathleen ended up dating a man named Farah Noor in 2002. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I really am sorry. I probably am not. Anyway, Farah was a Kenyan man who had arrived in Ireland in 1996. Farah was actually ordered to be deported, but he appealed the order and eventually gained citizenship due to having fathered a child in Ireland. He has since been described as especially violent toward women. He actually was guilty of multiple assaults and rapes before he and Kathleen ever started their relationship. As you can guess, Farah actually was quite abusive to Kathleen. It's really sad to see the patterns of abuse in the story. I don't think that you can always see the red flags and know ahead of time that someone's going to be abusive, but I do think that if you have a lot of experience with abuse in your childhood, then you're less likely to see them as red flags because they're more normalized. Kathleen has said that both of her parents were abusive to her, and we can see in the story with her first husband and then with Farah that she is choosing relationships with people who end up abusive. It wasn't Kathleen's fault that she was abused, but it does make me sad to see that she may have been less willing to get herself out of a situation because it was normalized during her childhood. So, now, anyone who's in an abusive relationship, I really hope finds the courage and has the ability to get themselves out of it, but especially if you have children, think about their welfare and the fact that the longer you're in a relationship with an abusive partner, the more that they're seeing this as something normal and something that they might put up with later in their lives, even though it's not in their best interest. I don't know if that was super redundant or really obvious, but it just was making me think. And I definitely don't want to suggest that if you had abusive parents, then suddenly you will be more likely to, abuse or be in an abusive situation. We all have, our free will, and you could be the one to break the cycle. Anyway, back to the story. Where was I? So Linda, the older of the 2 sisters, had left school early and actually birthed 4 children. The father of her children ended up leaving. I guess their relationship didn't work out, so she ended up dating someone else by the name of Wayne Kinsella. Now, Wayne Kinsella was a real creep. don't get me started. Like, Wayne Kinsella was not a great person. I could make a video just about him, and in fact, maybe I should. He was really terrible, and he's currently in prison for life after being found guilty of 2 unrelated murders. So you see what I mean. So as you can guess, Wayne was extremely abusive to Linda and to her kids. Linda was also suffering from a heroin addiction, and she had a history of alcohol abuse. She also got in trouble with the law for a theft, I believe. So, not the greatest path in life. But by the time that Charlotte, the younger of the 2 sisters, was 21, she had become involved in prostitution. She also had a history of drug and alcohol abuse, and she had lined up several minor convictions. On March 20th, 2005, which was St. Patrick's Day weekend, so, a really big deal in Ireland, both Linda and Charlotte had been drinking heavily with their mother Kathleen and Kathleen's new boyfriend, or I guess not so new, boyfriend of a few years, Farah. Now, they were just chilling in Dublin in the city center, and they were drinking vodka and Coca-Cola and just wandering around the town until they came to the boardwalk of the River Liffey, which is a river that runs through Dublin. When they got to the boardwalk, Charlotte and her mother took some ecstasy tablets. And then they all ended up back at Kathleen's apartment, where all 3 of the women were doing ecstasy, and Kathleen actually crushed up a tablet of ecstasy and put it into Farah's drink. I don't know what her intentions were, or if she had any intentions there, but she did want to get him on the same drug as them for the night. So, this is where the gruesome things start happening. This is where things went bad. Linda and Farah were sitting on the couch, and Farah started sexually touching Linda and was whispering in her ear and put his arms around her and trapped her and wouldn't let her go. And this angered Kathleen. So I don't know if this was an anger out of wanting to protect her daughter from unwanted advances, or if she was jealous, I don't know. But she was so angry at Farah, she screamed at him, and at some point Kathleen ended up saying something along the lines of, "Just kill him." And you can guess what happened next. Charlotte, who was perched on the armrest of the sofa at the time, she grabbed a Stanley knife, which is a utility knife, and she just went right for Farah and slashed him across the throat. And the blow was so hard, he went flying to the ground. At this point, Linda, she got off the couch, she grabbed a hammer, and she started hitting Farah on the head with the hammer several times. They continued attacking him, and when they were done, Farah had at least 27 stab wounds. After Farah had been killed, Linda and Charlotte took his body and dragged it into the bathroom, where they proceeded to dismember him. So they cut off his head, and they cut off his limbs, and they cut off his genitals with a kitchen knife and a hammer. That's gruesome. I guess I put a towel over his legs to soak up the blood, and they were just going at it, just chopping him up. After several hours of this horrible project, several hours, it took them several hours. They were just chilling in the bathroom, chopping up this guy. They threw his body parts into some black bags, I think garbage bags, and they toted his body off to the Royal Canal. The Royal Canal is a canal that's royal. I don't actually know anything about it, but some canal in Ireland. And they dumped his body parts in the bags into the canal. Now, they decided not to put his head in the canal with the rest of his body parts because they didn't want him to be identified. So they took his head to Sean Walsh Memorial Park, where they dug a hole and buried it, and then they threw the knives and hammer away in a pond nearby. Supposedly, Linda returned later and dug up the head to move it somewhere else, and I think she took it to a field somewhere. I wasn't totally sure where. I saw a couple things that contradicted each other, I thought, so I don't want to get it wrong, but supposedly she dug up the head and she smashed it a little to make it less identifiable, and then buried it in some field. The crime wasn't discovered until 10 days later, when Farah's leg was seen floating in the canal. Because somebody saw his leg, the police were able to search the canal and they found most of his body parts. And because they didn't find his head, they asked the media for help identifying the body. Someone recognized the t-shirt that Farah had been wearing when he died, and that's how they tied Farah to this crime. So I guess the moral of the story is to wear t-shirts that are very recognizable and distinct. So, if anyone ever finds your body, they'll know it's you. That's cheerful. Anyway, back to the story. When they identified the body as Farah's body, Kathleen, Linda, and Charlotte denied having anything to do with the murder or knowing anything about it in the first place. And because the police didn't have any real evidence backing up that they were involved, they had to just let them go. Now, I really don't understand why, but apparently Linda voluntarily confessed. She called up the police and told them the truth about her involvement in the murder. I don't know why she did that, but I'm glad she did so they could piece together what happened. After Linda confessed, investigators searched Kathleen's apartment and they found bloodstains that they were able to positively identify as Farah's bloodstains. As soon as Kathleen found out that her daughter had confessed, she booked it. She fled to England, where she wasn't found until 2008. Now, both Linda and Charlotte were arrested and charged with murder. In court, they pled innocent. But the police did have enough evidence against them, so in the end, Linda was charged with manslaughter and Charlotte was charged with murder. Charlotte received the mandatory life sentence, and Linda, because she supposedly had been provoked, received a sentence of only 15 years. Now, when Kathleen returned to Ireland in February of 2008, she was charged with both withholding information from the police and with giving false information. She also was charged with helping cover up and clean up the crime scene, and also with resisting arrest. Well, that's it, guys. That's the whole story. I think there was a lot of media coverage about it, so you could search up articles. I'm sure you could find a lot of information. You could see the pictures of the sisters. They came to be known as the Scissor sisters, I think because of the method of killing and dismembering. Linda's children were given to her brother to raise. I don't know if that means they're in good hands, but they're not in her hands, so I'm happy with that. This is a really sad story, and it just makes me feel all around pretty awful. I don't even know totally how to feel. I don't think, of course, that anyone should have been murdered. This is a case where it wasn't an innocent victim. He was actually pretty awful, but he shouldn't have had his life ended so quickly without the opportunity to make changes. I guess I don't feel as sad about it, which makes me a terrible person. I don't know. Anyway, this is my first YouTube video ever, so I was pretty nervous to put this out, and I really hope that you guys like it. If you have any advice or suggestions for me, please let me know. I know my equipment isn't great. I'm just starting out. I'm not really ready to invest a ton of money into equipment at the moment. But let me know if you like my content or if you have suggestions. Tell me if I'm talking too fast, and also let me know what stories you'd like me to cover. I am here for you every Friday, so please hit the subscribe button and also turn on your notifications so you won't miss my videos on Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.